So I remember we are talking about the silk industry, and I told you that you have to remember the chronology of different dynasties and a little bit of geographic locations. And then, it's, why do we study China, Korea, Japan together? Because it was part of the same cultural group of Silk Road, right? Sericulture. So that is unique. But eventually other countries in Persia, India, and the West, like Sogdiana, for example, they will be able to make their own silk. And then later on, if you go to Byzantine Empire, which is around here, Byzantine Empire can produce silk around 6th century BC, 6th century CE, Common Era. But what is unique about East Asian civilization is China, for example, they started making silk as early as 3000 BCE, right? So they already have that 3,600 years of experience when Byzantine Empire started making silk around 6th century CE, Common Era, and so forth. But now, if you search for main raw silk, right, like a raw silk fiber out of cocoon, China, of course, they still produce a lot of cocoons, the same area like Hangzhou and Suzhou, that area, but it's India. India, you can imagine, it's warm all year round. So they have a lot of silk cocoons, Pakistan too. And then if you go to actually Africa, Southern Africa, they can also grow cocoons, but that's in the 20th century right now. Now, why my slide doesn't work? Okay, now I'm going to talk about this material culture. So I want you to write down these materials, and then you can tell me where you see these raw materials in your life. So let's start with something where. So lacquer. Have you ever seen lacquer used part of dress? Do you know what lacquer is?
Yeah, wouldn't that be more accessories?
Accessories, good. So then it's in Nancy, right? So
yeah.
Where do you put that lacquer varnish?
I would think maybe on a headdress or shoes.
Correct. Do you know Christian Louboutin? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like a Louboutin. Do you know this brand?
Yes, definitely.
Right, some of you know what I am talking about. Do you know what color their shoe soles are?
Red.
Red. So where does that red come from?
Is it related to China?
It's varnish.
It's a lacquer.
Do you know my word like a varnish? So it is very similar to your nail polish kind of materials. So originally the Chinese lacquer was predominantly red. So lacquer is it's a tool. So usually lacquer ware, you put the lacquer ware, not the clothes wear, like a wear, meaning like a household container ware. So if you put that, lacquer ware is usually almost always made of wood. But if you don't leave wood as is, it's eaten by the fog and other conditions. So they put the varnish. So that is coming from lacquer trees, like a little very sticky varnish. You put it there. But Christian Louboutin, the shoe, they carry that sense of shiny perfection by putting the red lacquer varnish. It's not the wood while I'm talking about the red varnish on the shoe sole. Does anybody own Louboutin pair? And then moving to wood. So what about wood? So in Chinese or Asian culture, as Nancy said, you can certainly carry the lacquer wooden objects as accessories, right? Like a netsuke. We are going to study a little bit later, but Japanese hanging accessories called netsuke has a lot of these small lacquer objects as a part of decoration. You can imagine, right? You can make a small lacquer earrings or necklaces. But netsuke, it has a lot of lacquer materials. But lacquer, as you are going to see, is very important liquid for armor. Do you know what armor is?
Protective gear.
Yeah, like a, military gear, right? Like, if you are a warrior, you need armor. So armor, they put a lot of lacquer. Can you imagine? Like you probably used some metal, or they use bronze type of metal. But if you leave as is, again, it's tainted with patina, right? Like a metal changes with water. So in order to coat it, they put that same tree varnish. So you consider lacquer as more like a liquid. They didn't make a rain gear with a lacquer, but what is the famous brand of that hunting jacket by British maker? I used to know those, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like sort of,
Is it a bobber?
Oh yeah, power. Yes, you know what I'm talking about, like dark green, those jackets, right, for outdoor activities. Now we have a Gore-Tex, right? But previously, if you have these weather conditions, you can put some sort of a water repellent on top of the fabric. They didn't use lacquer though. What they used was oil. I didn't put it here, but do you know oil? These days, the barber, they use wax, but in Asia, they use the layers of oil on top of a paper. So that is more like a functional wear. So now, moving to wood. So can you imagine where you use wood for clothing material?
Maybe like the soles of shoes.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, you are wonderful. You always talk about the entire dress, right? So yeah, so again, footwear or functional elements. Yeah, the Japanese shoes, for example, yeah, right. They predominantly have that wooden sole or what did I want to say? Wood. But in Asian culture, you can also consider wood providing sort of a fiber, like a woven fiber, like a tree barks, right? Like if you have a tree, we are sort of thinking of a tree, like a tree trunk, but that's not it. Like you have a bark, right? You have a tree bark. That can be the material. You can soften it, or you can make ropes out of the wood. You make ropes, and then accessories, right? Like you can definitely use various forms of wood carving as an accessories material. What about jade?
Jewelry.
Right, jade is a mineral, right? It's like a rock. So obviously you cannot grow fiber out of the jade. So it's rock. So you can make a lot of accessories. Like Chinese people believe in jade's auspicious quality. They believe that when people wear jade accessories, it will shine in the middle of darkness of the underworld. So that's why in funerary context, especially tombs of really wealthy people, we see a lot of jade accessories. So that is it. But jade, you can make a belt. If you sew them together, right, small plate of jade pieces, you can make a beautiful belt and other personal gemstones or accessories. But you can also see on armor or a suit made of jade. So I'm going to show that example later on. It will be really remarkable. What about fur?
Outerwear, you can use it for like coats or even like linings.
Right. I mean, day like today, right? You wish you have a fur coat. Sorry if you are animal lovers. But it was a necessity, right? From the Paleolithic period, human beings always use animal products for clothing. So yeah, that kind of purposes. But instead of showing the fur in Asian culture, it's a liner. What are the lining? What is the
It's
lining?
the
Yes.
inside of the jacket, right?
Right. So outside it will be leather, but inside, you put the fur to keep you warmth. So yeah, fur is predominantly used. What about leather? Well, it's so obvious, right? Like we all love leather jacket, right? Like a cowhide, those things.
Shoes.
And then yeah, shoes, right? Shoes.
Hats.
Hat.
Maybe?
Hat. That is interesting. What do you have in your mind for hat?
I don't know. I would just thinking leather hat with fur lining, maybe.
No, they are not outlined leather hat. Like in the in Asian culture, hats are also made of plants stalk, like a thatch, straws, or if you are in high rank, those are also woven by horse hair, like horse's tail hair, or silk, made of silk. But leather, very important for military garment. So military garment. Just like where do you see a lot of leather jackets and leather shoes for durability, right? So military garments, you can see some of those armor, again, leather strips are woven together to make very hard and durable surface so that the spear cannot go through it. So military, or you can have shoes, those kind of elements. Something durable, right? What about felt? Can somebody explain difference between felt and fur?
Felt is usually wool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wool. Yeah. What do you mean by wool? How do you get the wool?
It comes from shearing a sheep.
Right, animal, like what is it? Like a
Maybe a
cut
goat.
out, yeah, short furs, right? And then if you leave them hair, like a cut out hair of the animals, and if you boil them, then it becomes really shrunk together and create very hard and durable fiber composition. So that is felt. So how is felt different from wool gabardine or wool muslin or other types of textiles? What's the difference between felt and wool textiles?
It's not really woven, right?
Excellent. Yeah. The felt is more like a cotton. If you have like a cotton balls, right? You see what it talks about, right? So felt is just a substance of keratin, like substance of hair material. So with the felt, you can have a flat surface, but it's not as flexible or thin like a woven textile. So it's not woven, it's as is. But felt and fur and the leather, they are the oldest materials of clothing. So felt, people knew how to make it out of animal hairs for thousands and thousands of years. So Asian clothing, if you use your common sense, it's not really famous for woolen textiles as we understand now, but they had a lot of felt. So again, winter garments, it has some felt, or military garment. We know that the Japanese people, for example, they created a coat out of felt, more like it looks like a shawl with wide sleeves, so that they put it on top of their armor. So we had a felt.